William Nylander is still waiting on a contract extension like his teammate Austin Matthews, and what's left to do this offseason for GM Brad Treliving. Hey everyone, welcome into the Sun Sports Roundtable. Rob Wong joined alongside by Toronto Sun Sports columnist Steve Simmons and Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writer Lance Hornby. And guys, no surprise as Austin Matthews finally inked a 4-year extension last week, but there's still another Maple Leaf forward in William Nylander, hopeful of getting a new deal as well. Steve, training camp set to start on September the 20th. Do we expect something to get done before then?
I don't. Then this is based on the conversations that I've had with Brad Treliving. It doesn't sound like they're even close to being on the same page when it comes to a future contract, and I'm not certain that he requires him to be signed the way in his mind he required Austin Matthews to be signed for camp. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if William Nylander played the entire season on the final year of his contract.
Well, it's interesting, Steve, that that there was sort of the kumbaya feeling when Matthews signed, that everyone was going to be on the same page, and Brad Treliving talked about a partnership and all that. I don't think that's going to wash with William Nylander or his agent Louis Gross or his father Michael, who's also can be very prickly when it comes to negotiations, as we saw a few years ago. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't know though if something gets done a little earlier. Either William starts off with a bang, and the Leafs are underlined to to get this settled as fast as possible, or he looks around and sees that this 10-team no trade list that he has. I think the top teams who still have cap space are all non-playoff teams, so there might not be another fit for Nylander somewhere else. And of course, you do take him at his word that he wants to stay in Toronto, but he's we saw before, he's not a guy who's afraid to push this a little further. My personal prediction: the Leafs do it in Sweden when they're there for the exhibition games against Detroit and Minnesota, because that will cause the most inconvenience for all the writers, that they would do it over there for maximum global publicity.
You see, time was you had a player like that, and there was huge pressure on getting him signed, and huge pressure on eliminating the distraction of not having a contract for the following year. And if 10 million is the number he wants, and that's certainly the number that's been kicking around, and the Leafs don't want to pay 10 million, then the world has changed a little bit. You can now let William Nylander walk at the end of the season for nothing. And that $10 million in cap space it might be more valuable than what you can require or what you can pick up in trades. So time was when you needed to trade a guy because you're not going to let him walk away for nothing. Mm-hmm. Nothing isn't nothing anymore. Nothing is cap space, and cap space is valuable.
Oh, for sure. And I guess if you're going to move him too, you got to find the right deal and all that. And as I mentioned before, there's not a lot of. He's already eliminated 10 teams, so it'll be the Leafs will be dealing with a limited market. I think Nylander wants to stay. Whether he gets off to a good start, and that underlines the push to get it done early remains to be seen.
So Lance, Brad Treliving has done the majority of his heavy lifting already with free agency and the extension for Austin Matthews, but what's remaining on his to-do list?
Well, the big one is his coach, obviously. He has to sign Sheldon Keefe, whether or not he does it. I think Steve touched on it on the weekend in his column. What is the rush here? I mean, the Leafs aren't going to play any games between now and September 20th. I think it's, he wants... Looks like they have a pretty good off-ice relationship. They built that quickly for two guys who didn't know each other. But, until you see what Keefe can do, and especially with this new lineup and how all that rolls out, I don't think there's any pressure to do it. And, maybe, as with Nylander, it goes all season. It might not be there was a push, I believe, last year around October. They got off to that really slow start, and there was a talk about, letting him go at that point. But for a great regular season that they had, it certainly paid off to stick with him to the end.
I think that the coach extension will happen before the season. I don't understand, like Lance mentioned, I don't understand why it's necessary. If you've got Max Domi and Bertuzzi and so many Klingberg and so many other guys on 1-year deals, why not have the coach in the same circumstance? Everybody under the same pressure. It's not a lame duck situation as everybody talks about. It's business.
Yeah.
But that said, I think Brad likes him, and I think he wants to extend maybe a 1 year. I can see a 1 year extension coming prior to camp opening. The thing with Brad Treliving that you're going to get to know is that he never stops working. He never stops adding. He made a small move yesterday. That's not such a small move in adding the defenseman from Anaheim. This is a nice pickup at a really low price. And I think you're going to see some of that kind of action between now and I think the beginning of camp. This guy doesn't stop.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's out there looking underneath rocks to see what's available. And I think he found at 775, I think he found a real good one in Benoit, or a solid NHL player in Benoit who can be your sixth or seventh defenseman and can do a lot of different things for you if necessary. And is, from my understanding, just a terrific person.
Yeah.
I think those are the kind of things that have really impressed me about Brad Treliving so far. He's not conventional, and he goes and finds things that other people don't necessarily want.
Yeah. Further to Benoit, 216 hits. He was number one on Anaheim and 21st in the league. And I think maybe you'll see some of those moves too. Interesting too. A lot of these guys that the Marlies have added on 1 year deals. I'm sure that his Treliving's fingerprints are on those too. Too numerous to go into, but it'll be interesting to see that the change of leadership there, and the Leafs are waiting for to add a couple of Marley defensemen if they can. Nobody jumps out right now, but you never know what they're up to so far.
To go back to Benoit, just as we finish up, in a game against Washington last year, he fought Tom Wilson twice. Well, nobody of sane mind fights Tom Wilson once, let alone twice in the same game. I think that's the one you look at and say, that guy, I wouldn't mind having him on my team.
Oh, yeah. A big French-Canadian defenseman. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Sylvain Lefebvre was the last guy of that, of that ilk to play for the Maple Leafs.
He wouldn't have fought Tom Wilson twice.
Yeah.
Well, we're definitely getting a sense of what a Brad Treliving hockey team looks like with some of these moves. As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. For Steve Simmons and Lance Hornby, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time on another edition of the Sun Sports Roundtable.